Learning Blender's basics for 3D modeling is quite straightforward. It might seem overwhelming at first as it has tons of features. However, for our purposes, we'll only need to touch a few windows and tools. Start by opening Blender and starting a new project. By default, you'll have on your own scene, the digital 3D world, a camera object, which is used for rendering images of our results, a light, used for lightening our objects, and a simple cube. In the top middle section of our Blender window, we can select different workspaces. These are created by default but can be customized to fit our workflow. For this guide, we'll only need the modeling workspace, where we will edit our 3D objects by editing their properties and mesh directly, and the sculpting workspace, where we can edit our objects as if they were digital clay. On the right hand side of Blender, you can find the Scene Collection and the Properties tabs. The Scene Collection is your hierarchy where all your scene objects are listed and organized. You can double click to rename your objects or create collections to organize your work. Below that, you can find several Properties tabs where you can edit a lot of settings going from general scope scene properties such as the resolution or lightning bloom to object specific properties such as Object Data tab where you can set its surface options like color. Selecting the eye icon on the scene collection will hide it from your view while keeping the object's existence. Similarly, you can select the camera icon to hide it from rendering. Now select your viewport shading mode on the top right of the window. Wireframe mode is used to see only the vertices and edges of a mesh, allowing you to see through it. This is very useful in edit mode as it allows you to select the whole part of an object. This is the default mode and what you'll want to be using while editing your objects. It allows you to see just the shape of your model in solid form without color or shading to distract from working on the form of it. Material Preview mode allows you to see your object with its materials and textures applied only. Render Preview mode applies everything, from materials to shadows, light objects and even reflections. You can use this mode to take a look at your scene before exporting a final render. In this case, we can see that the default light object is affecting our cube, giving it a shade. To rotate on our viewport, simply hold the middle mouse button to rotate around the center of your position. To move the center of your position, hold Shift plus middle button to move it in the X, Y or Z axis. Use the scroll wheel in or out to get closer or further away to your view's center position. Using the numpad numbers or the top right X, Y, Z representation, you can position your view along the axis. This is excellent when you need perfect alignment. After selecting an object, you can click the decimal button on your numpad, usually next to the 0 key, to move the center of your view to the center of the object. Now, let's talk about Blender's work modes. Near the top left, you have a drop-down to select your working mode. In the modeling workspace, you'll mostly be using Object and Edit mode. As in the sculpting workspace, you'll use the Sculpt mode. Edit mode is where you can make direct changes to your 3D models mesh. You can press the keys 1, 2 or 3 to swap vertex, edge or face selections respectively. You have at your disposal an array of essential tools such as cuts, extrusions and vertex manipulation, enabling precise adjustments at every level of detail. In object mode, you'll have tools move and position your objects, like their scale. You can also hold the Shift key and press A to add new objects to your scene. you'll most likely be wanting to add a new mesh object, like a cube, sphere, or cylinder. When adding a new object, at the bottom left, a Properties menu will appear, allowing you to customize the details of the new object. You can press the Tab key to swap between your last two used modes. Let's imagine that we want to prepare a simple cup holder. Let's start by creating a cylinder for its shape. Then, let's duplicate it by clicking Shift plus D and scale and position the second cylinder where we want the hole for our cup to be. In the Properties tab of an object, there's a wrench icon for modifiers. These are very useful tools that have a broad range of applications. These additions are also only permanent whenever you apply a modifier, otherwise you can keep working in a non-destructive way. Now let's apply a Boolean modifier to our original object with the different setting, selecting our inner cylinder. This will combine the two in a subtractive way. If we hide the second cylinder, as you can see, now we have the desired shape. After applying the modifier, we can delete the inner cylinder to view our desired results. Sculpting mode offers you an intuitive and powerful way to shape and manipulate digital models with organic detail. With a range of sculpting brushes and dynamic tools, you can sculpt, deform, and refine their creations in real time, mimicking traditional sculpting techniques digitally in real time. Whether it's adding fine wrinkles to characters, carving intricate designs into surfaces, or sculpting natural landscapes. Importing models into Blender opens up a world of creative possibilities, allowing you to seamlessly integrate external assets into your project and add others' works to merge your worlds. You can, for example, find different bases online for your figurines and swap them at will, or create a character and import a cool weapon model you'll find online and merge them. Let's import our warriors model. Now, let's take a look at preparing merging objects. Imagine instead of having a spear point on one side of our warrior, we want a double-edged sword. We start by using wireframe mode to remove the spear point. Now, let's say we've duplicated the sword's edge and position it on our desired location. As you can see, we have two objects, whereas for 3D printing, our desired outcome is a simple mesh. For that, let's simply select both, right-click and select Join. Now that we're finished, let's go to File, Export, and select .stl. We are now ready to use our 3D model in a 3D printing slicing software, such as, for example, the one we are using in this course, Orca Slicer.